다 통만데 그 작업 신부다 캐나다 작업 신부 결부에 그제나 다 대상에 간다 안에 그 재미 전수 시에서는 단독 할래야 의미 붐중이기 최소 쇼리어를 개발도야 국주각계라 자가 들릴래야 바우투된 거좀 쯧이 아니 니동 군체네 미 제제 바우바모 그 자가도 메릭다던 첼이야 소수 제비 소소 굴리퍼 본매 분이 단답할라 중화디 당 자다 주줄 행아리 대한 별에 자다 업중 행아 개발나래 주 아니 별나래 자다 유조숨 내정치요리 또디네 값스바에 홍바디나 아주 대비샤는 도당시도 디임비샤네 단다 도메기 메리티야라야 아니 간주까지 제를 쉬고도 디카레스나 본주기 다제 세베기니 용치모 사시디 공래야 만조 도둑 쳤음시 얘기 고갑디 미티야기 tunjun나브레 tun절이야 까지 제제 쉬고다 찹지 아니 메리티야 나래야 롱압야 주나래야 본주가도 냥 대다 단다 별난게 내당티니 아니 식중에 비차니 콩나발래야 동생 냠제야 쉬고요 쉬이 다 뒤참리에 단다 언더의 버릭진된 촉바 당 강정 천대링 촉 천대링 리슝 때내 칸기 촉조 소남랑가를 라니 뒤전단 대비 송신닝도 송주 수행
도마델리아 진을 확장된 좀 절 그자 오늘 다음에 토네 점리 견주게 아니 롭존 넘버 안시에 드린 소바기도 카 소수제비 귤레 넘버 아니 산에 메마 생겨야 드린기 아니 니모 아니 나주 페베기 루큐나리아 아니 하장게 셀교거기 니즈델이야 창마델이야 드린 두좀 제바델라 비르지데 소베기 아니 소수제비 귤레 참에 참슈나 나머지 대표들 토지체 쉬어지다 아니 다 드린 아니 대백에 나머지 캔셀에 단다 들어락 소문하시 아니 배대게 체도야 별이야 콜루무스 당에 아마 오시오지 중요요래 아니 나조다 별이야 아니 라와 매백 깽기 아니 다 별나리야 미마도 도접시오지 양배 깽기 아니 못튀니다 단다야 별나리야 강에 조디요래 이번에 게나기 다 치게가리야 별이야 라와 예보다 이게 예백이 내주이 안다담 함시에 망고지 빼대바디 덴바 마레스슈이 대송자다 대백이 단다 둘라 솜나시레 별나리야 아니 배대기 쳐도 아니 배미 몸 중이 사삼지인데 아니 종요래 배기가 위치에도 땅 알아줘 지게 유르칼 라운칼 예배기 미마속이 아니 딱 소수 지고 된도 아니 뭐슈버체 아니 소타에 배정이 되나리아 되는 남북도 계획해야지 안 계획치무지 차들이 도스 이 남북도 돌자로나 다 타준들이야 여러분체 그것이 샤베 때마다 아니 시제 냠종 환경 영화다 아니 뒤는 줘서 안 알아서 지게 유럽파 라와를 여기 저기 아니 자주는 간다리아 아니 추수수 마당 betone 안 맞주 나 도전 간다리아 나 지나치니 아니 저거기도 하고 고리슈나시 아니 냠뭉치네 아니 뒤는 줘서 약견나로 나셔이 아니 따뜻하게 만들기 딱 되는 뭐 ने रेडियो रे थाना जी टीवी खा मगुजे ला मगु दे छिन जवाचे ने हल कंजम ची की थुबियो रे मगु थोब की दु खा की मने थरी छे बका रेवालिया अनि ता देजियों के मगु फेबो मगु ये शिदु खा मामा छि पेर साम इने तिरिन देलिया नबसोगी थांग दन लानी फेंगे छोलिया निंग थाबो ने तुजि छे शुएजी दा अम्मा फेंगे छोलिया लोबम ये शुएई ते सोजा ता तिरिन दिन मंगा जुगी 아니 고디 다 도스체나 마페아레 남도죠 이제도 남부도 참매기 지기야 롱베기 안팀리아 지송기 토네 야랍 상주기 토네 아니 페로나 슈에이 안데스 체네 마페니 캠페나 베카소 안 트레인기 니모데 나주기 게랍나리아 다 오토슈기 니모딘디 아니 참매기 지게 소수이 쉐랭거네 남규다 마스네 데스 오토베기 남규시 테로나 아니 야마 페베카소 토나체니 게모쇼벌 소바 카메나몰 소바 근데 만나체 게 토지시 캐로나 쉐이 아니 라리아나 보조 페버텔라 닝 타버네 토지체 가린체
이제나 소소라 안데름 족바디 독시 단다 병이 직주기 아니 가샤기 송리디 대전 도질라니 년주 쉐이 토지시 대전 도질라 캐로나
단다 pen social के तो सुनजिन रोजा नांगरे सुनबनाची ने सुनजिन रोजा शुचो शुगी 그 라왕 결란치네 밀로 주주 컬 손주 뒤된 또 시종 게 영자 그 손진 치료 주동 거 영화 좀 하고를 링기 님은 그 자사하서 최순 별이 배미 세제 공무 개신 치자가 마트 선바치 경기 거네 개신기 표서 심결기 센송다 배미 통도 미주리 대비 장년 제벌 지위 결란치 그 로주도 제대로 비용시 인식 하버 배미스 르동 인도 최선을 일한다 개신기 장년고 대중수 일반남의 양인 제된 급이 뒤세시 경이 대한 드링기 님원들 배미스 또 치리기 때문에 중기 배미 생활 독습적으로 배미니 배미 달래라마 원자 태주 제바 3조 그 시위권 배미망 문제 사전 제바다 배미 대진이 기근접 채널 콘스템분 좀 쪽. 달라도 마셔 송쪽 또 여벌가고 제초비 뒤세시장 인 하버를 드리니 그 댄스 머리기 된도 르소 론주 르당난 게 바오다 방문 대선 용체 양년 제된다 유디슈주 뒤세시장이 밀로 주주 담배를 야나 숑게 배미토 미주를 대비도수 장년 조아미 시제 톱당 다시 당여가 마세 철시 댐비토는 그 통공 많이 최단 레이션 기제 배미리 경우 짜면 소답기는 걸 제유 마세 배미 공사 초라 모든의 captain 부긴 순제 카르 문진 제당디 최대를 라와메 신도 사고이 신 아를 딘시 라와 칸비 년도로 변의 로시 뒤마르 라와 담라 최슈디 임바 사든 제도가다 대신 야삼메 사고 소배자 변나 사고 라와도 담라 하장 첨부 여바다 사고바 변나 동 제윤이 장 코리아 레장 도담쳐 여바 사든 제유 자나 미만 지든 자가 자심나 아메리카 상마라니 기니비 기 다뇨메레가 상마라니 기 배주다 달제 동조라와 견송 제바다 다시 원조 라기 벽기 종주 제규 토당这个被需要接不嘛你还有个龙的尊主节要不当대신 메리 로중 로마남라 공생각 퀴수수 근데카도 베디기 쇼티 제발랑 팀걸 인로 줘대 가동 제베 내주 튼시도 야나기 담이제 도담 타와서유 유무슈 교수네 베미토 용차 용네 베미 초용네 도담다 다송 제신받아 대신 치료 이중설과 땅는 냠사 냠드 냠네 제제 신조 미망 로이다 주마다 제네 다송 제보다 시안 니된 두전 세베 거자오네 부파다 보면 마 진중 제발 평균 소다 제초대 파부 속 발랑 이제 미도비 내당 소시유 고래 보장기 내니 그 결혼 망슈 예비 배기 포강장님 내서 bar 용라 문진의 애시 미장 통줄망부 초된 추우치부망부 중공장 연배 배기 토강의 차주 80에 내당되는 애시 멤버 통줄망부 초된 삼도마세 잠님 교용의 남시 주도기 유진 도시의 차유 야나 중국 고유 중적 이 시주 견전달라人前对面的处理，别个托干的，在他矛盾的出自要有在外是的处理吧，你别个可以两年多前做起的讲兄弟，联系的差的参就这个，讲南兄弟别没的我的这个咱们说的，其他的四句其实老的切的别没的领导的，确实节点的放的，讲兄弟四句的西边或者当然的别没的问题啥都切的，老人那就别过对的，真就搞他人家，他吃了这东西，那就拿过来送去给人什么的，老人出去把的人就不拿。공교육이 내고 대신 여러 예주변나 시절 칩에 다시 시고지 독서 직접직권의 표미 라왕 탑의 윤도 제유 하고 치료 주동 이동 예로 표미랍 사비 고치의 표사 용접 사지 시고치문 유 표망기 닝도다 나 라자 잠내 내망들서 사튼 제지 변난게 표미들 야나 숑기 사쇼기 표미 거자는 까고 제미도 받아 표미 이기 담자 야요 동미도 달렌 사부 당요 야나 숑기 자원 나르주 서타산 치료 이동 권에 다버 미 베미 야다 막좀 마송이 랑루 메세 땅에 콘에 안도 나와 인베랑루 니시 자송지게 도불라네 랑루 메세 땅에 제슈디 랑루 메세 땅에 파무치 별라 랑왕 거바다 거서 주장 공사 장고 쳐고 별라 된된 쇼고 그만 베미만 문도 사부 사든 제유 자나 쇼기 베미 밀로 주주타 주주탄데 나르주 땅에 내든 여상 제주 탑도 베미 토 아동 담라 제제 동체 땅에 자소 변나 상면 통토가 소주다 전진 도쇼다 달래로做给자소 자원 통미도 소주 대신 그 서비스 지자 야시 작한바 야삼기 치조를 동두인 세워되는 의미도 당장하를 칠 동두인 바 세워들이 난주 엄마 남로 주주의 공 전주의 저거 마음 되는 예den시면나 지금 공사장비 주고 저기 꾸지 람den오 난주 계산의 야랑의 시차다 로브라 근데서 망시 서주다 저 의미를 최다 리쇼 양발라서도 마냥 균진 제토가 잠마세 잠린지 팬데레 다베 동토가 정화 제를 때는 잠린나 중대 렉슈스의 전주 지속이 차대 미미 란지다 미미남 미리 자신 라자 텐송토 강나를 동행체대 미미리기 된된 제사다 미미리기 최다의 조기 라서의 균진토 중대 지지 지변다 다보 이란 제거가 시도 둘이 그에다 미미 튕겨 로조난 게서 소개를 용의 비밀 납치 주제를 나주 제유시의 교육 진로 공사장비 주고 저기 꾸장을 이제 공시다 팀벌의 비밀 지도 대신 망들 남로 교도 받아 망들 차라 상화시 용지 처럼 이동 주지로 공사장비 주고 초네 철지 공원 명왕기 명왕기 연dem체 고치를 뒤져 나의 비밀 지도 되는 시주 비밀다 대신 치적 약합 시주점도 내시의 대 비밀 용의 모사 차유 치제 치약합 주숨나 구섭 된줄 대공 수요가 대신 개발 주숨나 시간 된줄 된지 근데 최종 장 이제 되죠. 럽자 장 주주에게 시가 대단한 맨칸다 계속 지유了大众 제시유 여당 premier 대표를 쓰는 일본의 조조 팀이 고치다가 여반의 premier 대표 속의 조조 팀이 소과 최슈도 임바다 대신 즉 지투인 계급의 조조 공원인의 투명합 중 망한 하 여반의 유럽나 장볼 망슈디 대신 계급 시주가베나 장볼 망용을 마다가 조조 팀이니다 조조 팀의 계급 나중 앞시 난 배전 대표 속을 망고 여바체는 가부 제여바시 나로 자나난 그 조미 토강에 내당도 그가 결시 텐송바데 제가 냠제 자소그 조미 토강 생각나요 오스트리아다 벨gium 캐나다 덴마크 프랑스 저머니 일본 뉴질랜드 스위든 스위스 인랜드 아리치기 자나 쇼게 변한 조미 토강 다시 탑체 동시에 센터유는 넘버 1000 电源吧呢 电源토 조미 토강 다시 동섬 조급에 다구 제유 대충 자나 미세 아리나 조주 초가신 아리 미세 남자 변나 조주 초가 팀이 템백체가 뒤 야나 숑이 아리 중진 만나 사교바 나 사교바 변나 조주 각동 제바다 아리 숑내자 야나 숑데미나 아리나를 조주 조주도 템백 나 여바다 하바 아리 신진 로널드 점쪽이 에시에 로교르기 팀이 템백 제비낭 표면 리숑 수족 발표다 대신 시행 포류 수족 유네트비 주군고 롱문낭주 팀이 낭 수유바 데이스 교전도 요함에 비capture 요바 텐유 야나 쇼게 아리솔 냠제다 조면 제교 세반의 카시 라네 미소바시 방안 주 시기유 가신 냠제다 조면 통은 담이 시대 준주 카시님의 이제 제기유나 교전 토라 대다 라네 무스 따르 여기 간용 세교 공사 때문에 주고 부사도 조면 고수 제교 고수 제교 공사 때문에 이 형제 냐발할 수도 뭐냐면 준지 제교도 통은 담이나 멈춰가 참에 참조해와 대신 준제도 나된 시행 동생에 말아 차도 여바지 생조반 단대 나는 문다와시 차도 유 내가 때는 시주 야채만 대화 말아도 또대 프로테인다 시작 여바다 시주 보면 남자 독서 지리게 독서 직접도 강에 강다시 체제 님도 남면 맞춘 봐 랑소 순제 르동 공내 제대 뇌머리기 라제 템포송의 조이 주파된 만수 라왕 버리게 텐조는 무슨도 뜻이 차유 데르테 장난촌의 뇌머리 남내 주파도 되게 되는 탑도 무슨 내주이 봐 다른 사도 주의 그러다 보면 주주 탐배리 요함에 약견랑 어떤 제된 수주도 대로 이건 쪽계로 대신까지 제된 로 순대 주도 야가 또도 배민내도 자유 작가 따고 또 조만한 까진 제된 주의 되는 고가 비교 배민남 까진 시비도 야가 수세 조만다 계지 교용을 내도 배다 배민 된전의 약견랑 중다 우지 저도 배민 대신 토글자 용을 노래닝의 투시 주께서 첩직 지식 그 시진 민중 마중과도 약견 무슨나로 레포니 주의 연남의 자라내다는 쌈나 난들 내전 제발 제주 망대도 망어대 대체 가샤기 지금 이건 주고 대신 나서 감지의 로 영적 사다시기 난그 변망의 대전다 변나라만 라고 변남의 자녀의 포탄지 용을 하면 좀 하고 준진이들 포장보다는 대슈치의 매직 동에 되게 생기 처음부터 샤프를 대화를 했듯이 하나 그 체계 잘 감사 템포 제교가 내주 제교이 하든 여기 라는 곳이 지나고 템포 좀 그때 시작에 까지 때 이제 제공하다 개면 흔히 들어봤다 시제 변민양들 대상님은 요 뉴스 동네 뉴스처럼 면도 슈다 주게 되지 이종 지금 이건 주고 나왔을 때 때줄라고 수치는
수치나 바디체네야 단다 서주기라 것은 숨주진으로 비행이 수치 그러잖아. 예체라야 단다. 이마 왕도 단지. 그렇잖아. 그 뒤쳐야 단다. 돌아서 놓고 좀 되기. 그러나 내가 돌려야 땀조시 숨쉬어야 안팅 어저께 단다. 랑데 놓고 좀 되기. 예전하게 뭐저 나로 나왔어요.
Memang hampa lingkit sangwala ngatu delet. Nyeming la dechen tanzini nga pher angje loktu chokpe chokmi chigi. Lo takwa sumju tujeng kapla pher angje loktu chokpe chapsi tamje namena to thapki yore. Pena tani lo nidong chokye la nganjo chapsi jomba tashi bongchu ki kangla chapsi tamje jik thap yore. Tinangshing nidong choktir la nganjo pher nangki 라롱가르라 멱te chungwa pena gomba torshi tangwa tangbatang 자와당 아니 소소 gombatang shane piba digi denzugi lokul ki chapsi tamjeje ani thapare thalo sumju tutendi mixe ki khechembo jik chagi yore phe rawa rangjen shone lok chukchu khorwe tuju jik cha de yore cheza nganjo thalö chapsi tamje di lo chukchu nangla chapsi ki thola khare khare chungwa thang lo chu ki tujut kane ani chapsi tamje di thapi yore ta di go ma chungela memang cho yaku chene surona jamyang ki tamje nanglo la ani lo chu lo nishi lo sumju la during thare nyamdo memang nyamdo surona so pecha chawena jamyang lagi lochu gyuring thare nyamdo sungdi memang sama nyamdo gyuring thare sungrona
samalo if you go to the meeting number sama mix sungrona UPRISING 직당으로 랑기 탈골라 강릭이 꼴에 썸다 타링 집네 예만 원세 집네 포장 제보 포토라 제다 케랑기 유에라 벽이 유게 때문에 나죠 센다 케랑 탄다 파사 발고라 유 삼부지 탐믹 당로지 다른 게 뭐디 직동 국교 안압중하고 나와 선배 세주래
저청네 암도다 팜 야미기 공사도 말해 하게 한번 달래야 돼. 맞은 거야. 링에 랭게래.
링이모 nga lo chui 직동 국가 납중하고 다와선배 세주라 nga lo 춘주 된대지이네 nga 미제 지오게 예배가 저디 쳤어 니마데네 회 개미기 세송 제발에 니마 둔자 다와 카셰낭라 칼리 개미기 배 잠볼링 잡다니 수발에 로직동 국가 북주래고 로주 규링차래 카체와 등에 챙기도 네 분체 족보 정모 김제 레레니 랑기 라원치도 랑기 파유 샤네로스 혼주 거와저인 네 되게 하고만 줘 그디 네 롱바래 만조 롱바래 이네 니레 미 망부 조칭스 두두 신앙다 남자지 여베 이네 군주 개미 메시지라 레야 레와치래 그디 네 나래 나데네 과도 도그래 너 직동 국가 둔주되고 롱니슈 규링타래 걔네 개미기 가지고 잡을 쇠와 땅에 고주스 완전 난기 규자라 차상 개미기 토수 안돌라 마기 타워링 로디 차와 토니 로추바레 낭라 이지 메버스레 차와 토니 콘서 로추다 세메 슈추레 세베 츠다 리슈 토시 당와레 네미기 든라 헤베 가랍 루게디 참에 당소 로직동 국가 개주개고 로숨주 규링차래 니마 딱봐 차와당 주마 미개죠 타세기 남제라 별 라왕치도 오고치기도 갑드드 시계라 근데 시대 신당 피버래
Holiness, just and lasting peace. And accordingly, I now call upon your holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. Will you please enter the podium and receive the Nobel Peace Prize for 1989 with a gold medal and the diploma.
로 직동 국가 국주고고 로 십주 규린사 이가 별라 내당 두로 저우도 별 라와 라기 여베레와 묘로 저우도 나랑 강리기 파조초 라wan기 롱팔라 저야 탁조 치버 나랑 기 나온다 낭미 하고 차상지 샤니 강에 여베람가 강다 용속 균 메자 롱바치라 좀 이동구 롱압주 규린차래 이동게라 개낭라 올림픽스 중도 개도 변낭라 개랑 첨부 중래 이동주구 로툭주 규린차래 이동게니 타벌 담불링라 총망유 먼저 뱀이 가다 툭주 랭아 기랑류 메세 땅와래 차와 땅수마 낭기팔라 아말라 슌바 로쭈쭈 기네 상마 튼다 쪼디 별라 라완 랑제다 통소주 별라 페야주드레
Hindi phela show. Phela rawa rangse rawa show. Hindi phela show. Phela rawa rangse rawa show. Phörangsen. Phörangsen. Jamal Phöne. Jamal Phöne.
Telling was a Phörangsen show. No tukju dogoydu. Dinzi çoda. Dinzi dele rinpoche. Tundu bongchen. Shokjang. Lishi chöden. Rungi ada. Dashi wongchu. Kunzu zo shebe. Gashi pa pa me ki susu. Mitse le tangni. Lugu peware. Di. Manzu tu nam yang jayo mare. Manzu lo tukju simni. Lo tukju ki kange. Lo tukju ki dungle. Lo tukju gyuri thare. Lo tukju manzu Phörangsen raya ki rewa dikhi de. Manzu Phörangsen ragi de. Phörangsen samai. Phörangsen samai. Pheki dakbo. Pheki dakbo. Yama phede. Yama phede. Free Tibet. China out. Long live. Long live. Pheki dakbo. Pheki dakbo. Yama phede. Yama phede. Long live. Long live. Phörangsen. 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 Yama phede. Yama phede. Long live. Long live. Free Tibet. Free Tibet. Stop the genocide. Stop the mining. Stop the genocide. Free Tibet. Free Tibet. Release the political prisoners now. Release the pension lama now. UN-O. UN-O. Free Tibet. Free Tibet. Free Tibet. Pheki dakbo. Pheki dakbo. Free Tibet. Phörangsen. Phörangsen. Yama phede. Yama phede. Long live. Long live. Krishna.
그렇잖아. 그러면서 로블 소발라 같은 체수에 공항 덴비토네 담주 군대 나와서 같은 체수에 안 간다 갑소라 먼저 캠넬 루멜 소와타비 텐지 몰람 수에이 세메데
자와 배와 Video isn't entirely your voice.
In Tibet! In Tibet! China out! China out! Tibet! Stop the killing! In Tibet! In Tibet! Stop the killing! In Tibet! Genocide! In Tibet! Stop the killing! In Tibet! Stop the mining! In Tibet! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! Free Tibet! China out! Free Tibet! Long live! Long live! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Pinky Dakpo!
Stand up for Tibet!
United. We'll never be defeated. Tibetans, united. We'll never be.
China out of Tibet now.
China out of Tibet now.
Penanten. Penanten. Yaman Benin. Yaman Benin. Tibet belongs to. Tibet was never. Tibet was never. Tibet belongs to. Free Tibet. Free Tibet. Free Tibet. China out of Tibet now. China out of Tibet now. What do we want?
We want freedom.
What do we want?
We want freedom.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
Free Tibet.
China out.
Free Tibet.
China out.
Human rights.
In Tibet.
Human rights.
In Tibet.
Cultural freedom.
In Tibet.
Religious freedom.
In Tibet.
Religious freedom.
In Tibet.
Allow media.
In Tibet.
Allow media.
In Tibet.
Stop the torture.
In Tibet.
Stop the torture.
In Tibet.
Stop the killing.
In Tibet.
Stop the mining.
In Tibet.
Stop the mining.
In Tibet.
Stop the genocide.
In Tibet.
Stop the genocide.
In Tibet.
Tibetans united will never be defeated. Tibetans united
We'll never be defeated.
Tibetans united.
We'll never be defeated.
Release the political prisoners now.
Release the political prisoners now.
Release the political prisoners now.
Stand up for Tibet.
Justin Trudeau.
Stand up for Tibet.
Justin Trudeau.
Stand up for Tibet.
Free Tibet.
China out.
Free Tibet.
China out.
Free Tibet.
China out.
China out of Tibet now.
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 What do we want?
We want freedom.
What do we want?
We want freedom.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
Tibetans united.
Never be defeated.
Tibetans united.
Never be defeated.
Tibetans united.
Never be defeated.
Free Tibet.
China out.
Free Tibet.
China out.
Free Tibet.
China out.
Release the political prisoners now.
Release the political prisoners now.
Release the political prisoners now. What do we want?
We want freedom.
What do we want?
We want freedom.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
China, China, China. China, China, China. When?
When.
When?
Now.
China out of Tibet 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 now.
commemoration of the Tibetan National Uprising Day. My name is Viren Samusang and I'm a board member of Students for Free Tibet Canada, which is one of the organizers of today's event, along with Canadian Tibetan Association of Ontario, Tibetan Youth Congress, Tibetan Women's Association of Ontario, and Chushi Kangju. 60 years ago, Tibetans in Lhasa rose up and surrounded the Butla Palace to protect His Holiness the Dalai Lama from the oncoming Chinese military. Hundreds of thousands put their bodies on the line against the occupation of Tibet. Today marks the 60th anniversary of that day. Elder Kim Wheatley is an Ojibwe Anishinaabe grandmother from Shenawanaga First Nation Reserve and carries the spirit name head or leader of the Fire Flower in his Turtle clan. Currently, she's working as a cultural consultant. Kim is excited to lead the culture and protocol component of the Great Lakes Water Walk. Elder Kim, we're offering you this tobacco edition to ask you to share your traditional indigenous knowledge with us and to acknowledge this land that we're on. We hope this is the start of a meaningful relationship between our peoples.
Tashi Telek. Try it again. Tashi Telek. Anin Bojo Sego Tanse Kwe Kwe. I bring greetings in the language of my ancestors and my people. And as we stand on the bodies of my ancestors, I stand in solidarity with all of you here today. We are on the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And it is their bodies that are holding you up on this day as we stand united in our efforts to right the wrongs that are happening to all Tibetans. I have lit our medicine, that's what's burning next to me here, and I want to offer a song. This song is called the Unity Song, and with this song, I hope that your prayers and our prayers will unite for meaningful change as we move forward, and to let you know that we too will never forget. So on this day, I stand with you all. I need to sing.
Well,
freedom arrive.
Miigwech. Elder Kim. Now I'd like to ask the performing arts students for Tibetan Canadian Cultural Center to sing the Tibetan and Canadian national anthems. Since 1998, 165 Tibetans inside and outside of Tibet have self-immolated, calling on the return of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and for the freedom of Tibetan people. To pay our respects to the countless Tibetans who have lost their lives fighting for justice, we'd like to observe a moment of silence. Thank you. I'd now like to call on the stage Sonam Chugi, Students for Free Tibet Canada National Director, who works in solidarity with the Tibetans inside Tibet in their struggle for freedom and independence. Since taking on the position of National Director in 2015, she has led grassroots training around the world and has, over the course of 3 years, built public and governmental support in Canada for Tibet. Sunam?
I am here today to tell my fellow Canadians that Tibet was once an independent country. On March 10th, 1959, tens of thousands of Tibetans took to the streets of Lhasa to rise up against China's illegal invasion and the occupation of their homeland, of my homeland. They surrounded the Potala Palace, the home of the Dalai Lama, to protect his life and the future of the Tibetan nation. 60 years of occupation later, 60 years of resistance later, 60 years of resilience later, Tibetans inside Tibet are undeniably demonstrating that they will not be controlled by Beijing, nor can they tolerate the extreme repression they have been forced to endure for the past 6 decades. China's rule has created a crisis in occupied Tibet. Repressive policies and the severe crackdowns have provoked an unprecedented wave of self-immolations. 165 Tibetans have given up their lives for freedom and for the return of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to Tibet. Today, the situation in Tibet has worsened under Xi Jinping's rule. Although there are very few actions Tibetans inside Tibet can take under the Chinese regime, we can do a lot more. Today, hundreds of thousands of people worldwide are in the streets to show solidarity and say that we stand with Tibet. The Tibetan struggle is a human rights struggle, a struggle for dignity and freedom, and we stand with the Tibetan people. Today, I'd like to reiterate that Tibet still needs you. We are at a turbulent time in our movement where devastating news from the Tibet overwhelm our social media feeds and our daily lives. The self-immolations continue to rise. Language rights advocates like Dashi Wangchuk are languishing in Chinese prisons. Teaching the Tibetan language has been banned. Protests in Tibet have not ceased, just like the brutality practiced by the Chinese government against our people has not weakened. One way to look at the situation is to say that there is nothing more we can do. China is too strong, and resign ourselves to despair and hopelessness. However, we do not have the luxury to despair. While Tibetans inside Tibet are still prepared to risk arrest, torture, beatings, prepared to light their own bodies on fire, prepared to send their children into exile, to record freedom songs, and to stand up proudly as Tibetans, we do not have the luxury of despair. Living in a country where we have these democratic tools and an abundance of privilege, it is not our right to give up. We cannot give up. In Nelson Mandela's inaugural speech as the first black president of South Africa in 1994, only 4 years after his release from prison, he said, "To the people of South Africa and the world who are watching, this is a joyous night for the human spirit. This is your victory too. You helped end apartheid. You stood with us through the transition." End quote. I am confident in saying that the leaders and allies who have stood by us and will continue to stand by us, you have stood on the right side of history. For the generations of Tibetans in exile who have been unwavered in their fight for truth and justice, we will one day celebrate March 10th as a national holiday in the streets of Lhasa. I want to leave with you these last words from the same speech by Nelson Mandela. I stand before you filled with deep pride and joy, pride in the ordinary, humble people of this country. You have shown such a calm, patient determination to reclaim this country as your own. And joy that we can loudly proclaim from the rooftops, free at last. I yearn for the day when His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama can also yell from the rooftops of his home at the Potala Palace, "Free at last, free at last." And until this dream is realized, we will march forward and continue the resistance inside and outside Tibet. We will lobby our governments to unite for Tibet. We will fight to release every last Tibetan prisoner. We will challenge the Chinese government's every attempt to silence our voices and to erase our identities until we see the victorious end to our struggle, to our living in exile, to the suffering of our families, friends, and the Tibetans inside Tibet, and for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to return to a free Tibet. Free at last, free at last. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonam. Next, I'd like to welcome someone whose activism started with the Tibetan freedom movement. Today, she's the first Tibetan to be elected to public office in North America. In just 9 short months, she has become one of the strongest progressive voices at Queen's Park. I'm proud to welcome the Member of Provincial Parliament for Parkdale High Park, Putila Karpoche.
Thank you, Bhushan. Yeah. Before I begin, I just want to give a shout out and thanks to the Toronto Police Services for their assistance in their march today. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. My brothers and sisters, I stand before you today as not only your Member of Provincial Parliament, but as a fellow Tibetan. As a fellow Tibetan to commemorate, to mark the 60th anniversary of the Tibetan National Uprising Day of March 10th, 1959. Today, we mark. Today, we mourn. We mourn the loss of lives of the thousands and thousands of Tibetans who have died fighting for human rights and for our right to self-determination. But we also commemorate their strength, their resolve, there is strength and resolve that flows in every one of us today. It's inside every one of us today. Because we all know, for 60 years, the Chinese government, one of the most powerful and brutal dictatorships in the world, has tried to wipe Tibet off the map, has tried to erase our culture, has tried to erase our language, has tried to erase our identity, but we still stand strong, and we still fight strong. And we know that we all have a duty today to make sure that the resistance carries on, which is why I'm so proud to see so many young people today in our march and in the square. Let's not forget that the resilience and the resistance people of the Tibetan people will continue to live on despite every attempt of the Chinese government. And our beautiful flag will one day fly high and beautiful inside Tibet. Thank you.
Thank you, Putila. I'd now like to welcome the Member of Parliament for Parkdale High Park. He's the Chair of Parliamentary Friends of Tibet and one of our strongest supporters at Parliament Hill. Please welcome MP Arif Virani.
Thank you, Tujiche, Gadanche. I wanted to say it is a large honor and a privilege to be among you here today. I'm used to speaking to my constituents in Parkdale, and I'm used to speaking to the Tibetan Canadian community at the TCC, but seeing so many people gathered here today in the heart of the city here at Young Dundas Square is an amazing testament to the cause, and it's an amazing testament to all of you here who are supporting this struggle. You have heard so much already about this struggle, some eloquent speeches from the previous speakers. What I can say to you is that after 60 years of the anniversary of the uprising on March 10th, I stand in solidarity with Tibetans here and Tibetans around the world with this cause and with this community. And what I can say to you is that just 1 year before, I had the honor to meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I was in India in March of just last year. And that was a very nervous occasion for me. It was a very memorable occasion for me. But it was a very poignant occasion for me, because in speaking to His Holiness, what he communicated to me, and you know it all better than I do, is his commitment to his people and his commitment to this cause. And what that meant for me when I left his home in Dharamsala in India, when I left his home, I doubled down on my commitment to carry through with the cause that so many of my Tibetan Canadian constituents have explained to me. And it is an important cause. It is a critical cause. It is a cause that I will stand with you and I will advocate for as long as I'm serving you as a Member of Parliament in the House of Commons. What was important that he explained to me is something that I think is still so much misunderstood, even today, which is the issue that he has raised with me and that Sikyong La has raised with me, and this is the notion of the middle way approach. The middle way approach is simply a cause that seeks autonomy and more powers for the Tibetan people within the Chinese Federation. That is something that is so important to understand, because when people understand it, they realize this is not a controversial idea, this is not a radical idea, this is a genuine idea, a legal idea, an idea that's time has come. And I've spoken out about the middle way approach in Parliament, and I will continue to do so on the floor of the House of Commons, and to whomever seeks to understand better the middle way approach. But my advocacy for the Tibetan Canadian community does not end there. What I can say to you is that as the chair of the Parliamentary Friends of Tibet organization, what I've tried to do is advocate on behalf of Tibetan causes at all points in time. And that is including the gentleman who was just mentioned here earlier, Tashi Wangchuk, and his struggle to protect Tibetan language rights and Tibetan language education within the TAR. I've spoken about that at the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs on more than one occasion. I've talked about the Sino-Tibetan dialogue. I've talked about the whereabouts of Panchen Lama and how we need to have an understanding of Panchen Lama. I've also spoken out about something that is directly of concern to the people I see here before me, which is simply the idea of reuniting Tibetan families. For a long time, for many years, over 10 years, we had a problem with people seeking to leave India and Nepal not being given the travel documents to get to Canada. Through the assistance of my assistant, and she's a terrific advocate, Tenzin Chokila, what we have done is worked hard for you to ensure that you can be issued single journey travel documents to come here to reunite with your family in Parkdale, in Etobicoke, in different parts of Toronto. This is the advocacy that must continue. But I was most proud to stand with Sikyong La when we announced just a few months ago funding for Agri-Team, which was $5.4 million to support young Tibetan boys and girls, thank you, young Tibetan boys and girls getting their education in India and Nepal. And what you will remember is that Sikyong gave me a little nickname, and I mispronounced it then, but I'll try and pronounce it properly today. But I'm proud to be your Chola Arif, because that is a big honor for me, and what I will commit to you today and every day that I'm serving is that I will continue to be your Chola Arif, continue to speak out for and on behalf of the Tibetan cause on March 10th and every other day of the year, because this cause is a cause that I've adopted as one of my own. Thank you for giving me the honor of serving this community. Gadin Che, Tuji Che.
I'd like to call upon Sonam Langarla from Canadian Tibetan Association of Ontario to present our white scarves to both Butila and Arif, Ms. MP Arif Irani and MPP Butila Karpoche. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call upon a member of the Uyghur community. They are our allies who suffer under and fight against China's occupation. Please welcome the Public Relations Officer of the East Turkestan Association of Canada, Alim Jan Uyghur.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the Tibetan community for inviting us today. We are so glad and honored to be a part of today's event. On behalf of East Turkestan Canadian Association, we condemn Chinese illegal occupation and invasion of Tibet. We express our solidarity with our Tibetan brothers and sisters. Both Tibetans and people of East Turkestan have been the victim of oppression and the violation of human rights by the Chinese government. The people of Tibet and East Turkestan are facing the same fate under the Chinese communist regime. Being Tibetan is a crime, being Uyghur is the crime, the practicing religion is a crime. China is carrying out ethnic cleansing and genocide against Tibetan and Uyghurs. There are about 3 million Uyghurs arbitrarily detained in Chinese concentration camp. There are doctors, engineers, teachers, children, women. Day to day they're dying. As we speak, 3 million Uyghurs being detained. 3 million with the M. They're subject to severe torture, organ harvesting, and brutal death. We're on the verge of extinction as a nation. The people of East Turkestan will always stand with our brothers and sisters in Tibet and Tibetan people all around the world. We hope to see one day we will raise our Tibetan flag, we will raise our East Turkestan flag in the freedom, independence of Urumqi of East Turkestan, Lhasa of Tibet. Thank you very much.
Can we please have the students from TCCC sing Mimang Langlu and Sumju Telo? Next, I'd like to welcome the President of Canada Hong Kong Link. She's a strong advocate for social justice, democracy, freedom, and human rights in Canada, Hong Kong, and Tibet. She was a key organizer of the 2010 Community Dialogue event with His Holiness the Dalai Lama at the Royal York Hotel and has organized other similar initiatives. Please welcome our friend Gloria Fung.
Thank you very much for having me today. We at Canada Hong Kong Link stand with you all in solidarity as we honor the courage of the Tibetan people in the March 10 uprising. We know that the struggle continues, and we support you as we all face a common threat. Some may think that the oppression of the Tibetan people is only a problem in a foreign country that doesn't have anything to do with us Canadians. But those of us who have experienced the China's oppression have a warning for all Canadians. Chinese oppression and imperialism has no borders. This dictatorial regime rules by fear and violence, and it has threatened the freedom and security of all around the world. Isn't our Charter of Rights protect our freedom of speech in Canada? Except when Chinese students noisily disrupt a presentation at McMaster University by a Canadian of Weir origin, or when the president of student unions at U of T campus is attacked by a campaign of online intimidation just because she is a Tibetan youth leader. China has systematically violated the human rights of Tibetans for more than 60 years. But it is also violating the human rights of all people around the world, including Canada. In Canada, they are spreading a message through the Chinese agents in the Canadian journalistic, political, and business sector. If you criticize China, you will pay a steep price. Your contacts will disappear and your revenue will drop. This is a deliberate muzzling of freedom of the press and speech here. China has imprisoned 2 Canadians, and they are going to execute another one. People in this country finally see the true face of the Chinese regime. The recent arrest of Huawei's CEO has raised crucial questions to all of us in Canada. Will our government allow Huawei to be engaged in the 5G network development? If so, Huawei would get access to huge amounts of data to Canada. Under Chinese law, this corporation must share all its data, strategically important data, with the regime that has used its cyber warfare to hack, disrupt, and interfere the internal affairs of Canada and other countries. For this reason, USA, Australia, and New Zealand have already banned Huawei in the 5G network. Therefore, we must be alert towards the threat imposed by China's sharp power in Canada and around the world. Huawei must be banned from Canada's 5G network. Please let your MPs know. In conclusion, we are facing the same threat in our struggle to protect human rights in Canada as well as around the world. Free Tibet! Democracy and freedom in Tibet now!
Democracy and freedom in Tibet now!
We in Hong Kong, as well as here in the Hong Kong Canadian community, are with all of you in your struggle. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is a longtime supporter and friend of the Tibetan people in Canada. He also played a crucial part in presenting His Holiness with the honorary Canadian citizenship. Please welcome Senator Consiglio de Nino. Thank you.
Tashidale. My family.
You're not leaving that, right?
Yeah, I'll just be a couple of minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, walking for 2 hours from Jameson Avenue with this wonderful group of Tibetans and supporters just made me realize, first of all, how the family has grown in the last few years. And that's a good thing. I also want to acknowledge the great work that Sonam is doing with the students of Free Tibet, and her speech was fantastic. Well done. But my hero is on the left of me, both physically and politically. Having said that, I have great respect for Butila, and to me, it's a sign of the growth of the Tibetan community's influence in our country, which is very important in the sense that you are now playing a role at the highest levels of decision-making in the country. And that's good. Good for you, good for Tibet, and good for the future of Tibet, because I think it'll help achieve the objective. So well done, young lady. Let me just say that we have a little competition. So I'm going to have to yell, okay? So let's yell a little bit here. The message today is the message that everybody has given. It's not the end, and it will not be the end until Tibet is free from the chains of China. That is really what we need to continue to struggle for. And you know what? As I look around and I see the multiplication of the Tibetans in this community with all of their friends, with all of their colleagues, our army is getting stronger, our army is getting bigger, and you know what I'm going to say to you, China, watch out, because we're not going to give up. Pogyalo! Pogyalo! Until the next time, thank you for inviting me. Good luck.
Next, we have someone whose human rights journey started in his native Egypt when he was forced to flee after he was severely tortured and sentenced to death for converting from Islam to Christianity. I'd like to welcome Reverend Majid Al-Shafi, a human rights advocate and founder of One Free World International, an international human rights organization which advocates for religious minorities. Reverend?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, and thank you all for gathering here today. I will not say anything new that you didn't hear so far. I will not say anything new that you didn't live and you saw with yourself. In 3 minutes, I will have 3 messages. The first message is for the Tibetan people themselves. 60 years ago, they tried to destroy you. They tried to stop you. They tried to humiliate you. They didn't succeed then, they will not succeed today, and they will not succeed forever. My message to the Tibetan people, you become an example to all of us in your resistance, in your love, and above all in your forgiveness. And my second message is for the Canadian government. I hope that the Canadian government will know that the almighty dollar is not more important than our value and our principle when it comes to human rights. Just recently, China kidnapped 2 of our Canadian citizens, blackmailing us, threatening us. Canada just tasted something extremely small from the Chinese regime, what all our people been facing for many, many decades. So here is what I'm asking from Canada. Don't think that you're small, don't think that you're little. I'm asking from the Prime Minister to stand his ground, to fight for human rights. I am Canadian. I prefer to live poor than rich and to be humiliated by Chinese regime. And my last message, and the final for the Chinese regime, for the Chinese government, for everyone that worked there. I want to tell you that yes, you have a strong army, you have strong weapons, but we have the Lord Almighty. We have the hope. Not your army, not your weapon will scare us or will get us to give up. They have to understand that the people that's facing injustice is dying, but they're still smiling. They can always kill the believers, but no one can kill the belief of our hearts. They can kill the dreamer, but no one can kill the dream. Free Tibet!
Thank you. Now we'd like to present our Tibetan white scarves to thank all of our allies for speaking. Senator Concilio Danino, please accept this scarf on behalf of all the Tibetan community. Gloria Fang. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. Reverend Majid Al-Shafi. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Alimjan Ugur, thank you for speaking. I think he, thank you very much, Alimjan, as well. Thank you. Next, I'd like to talk about March 12, 1959. 2 days after many of our men lost their lives in Lhasa, our women rose to take their place. Tibetan women's place has always been in the movement and as leaders in our community. Tibetan Women's Association is a testament to that. Please welcome Chungla Tsering, Executive Member of Tibetan Women's Association of Ontario.
Woo! Today, here in Toronto, we commemorate 60 years of struggle, of resistance, but most importantly, of resilience. From the invasion of our homeland, the subsequent displacement of our people, and our current navigation of exilehood on indigenous lands, we continue to fight for our people, our rights, and our homeland. Everyone has a piece of home. It is a home that many of our parents and grandparents had to flee, a land that many of us have never been to, and we all dream of returning one day. We, as the Tibetan Women's Association of Ontario,
joined Tibetans all over the world today to stand in solidarity with Tibetans inside Tibet and allies who will never stop to fight for the freedom of the Tibetan people and their land. Thank you everyone for being today. And we would also like to inform you about March 12th, Tibetan Women's Uprising Day, a day in 1959 where the Tibetan women rose up against the Chinese occupation. We will be marking this day at Parkdale Public Library on Tuesday at 5 p.m. for a vigil and to commemorate the Tibetan woman who has been at the forefront of our community's survival. We hope you can join us. Free Tibet! Free Tibet!
The final speaker for our program at Dundas Square is going to be Tenzin Ngawang, the president of Regional Tibetan Youth Congress. TYC was founded in the 70s by the first wave of young Tibetans who grew up in exile, united in their struggle to restore complete independence for Tibet. Our TYC is also one of the co-organizers of this event. Ngawang, thank you.
Thank you. Lenga sama tuiche tari mima shuji pesha mune khona gaushada chu ta injiki nanglo sikashe shuyi dijal ngazo mutuni ani kemi shuzub tuna kemi kere. Good afternoon everyone. I am Tenzin Ngawang and I am the current president of the Regional Tibetan Youth Congress of Toronto. Let me start off by acknowledging the indigenous people of Canada and their ancestral lands that we stand on today. I'm not going to take much of your time as many speakers have spoken before me and have basically laid out what I had to say. I would just like to add a couple of things to it. I feel that now is a time of paramount importance for the Tibetan movement, not just because China is tightening its grip over the Tibetan plateau now more than ever before, but because now more than ever before, international governments are standing up to China against its human rights abuses and illegal activities. For example, the US government recently passed the Reciprocal Access to Tibet Act, which basically states that if Chinese government officials and diplomats want to travel freely across the United States, then United States officials, NGOs and diplomats be able to do the same in Tibet. Our very own Canadian government too has recently detained an Huawei executive, Ms. Meng, over the request of the United States over alleged Iran's violation sanctions. Since China illegally occupied Tibet in 1959, over 1 million Tibetans have been killed. 99.9% of monasteries have been burnt down. And despite all these pressures from the Chinese government, the Tibetan people inside Tibet have resiliently and valiantly stood up to the Chinese government and continue to preserve our rich culture, language, and still, we are faced with a sad reality that over 160 plus Tibetans have self-immolated as a direct result of the Chinese government oppressive policies. The people in Tibet hope that we Tibetans in exile will continue to shed light on the harsh reality inside Tibet, and that we will continue to preserve and safeguard our culture, religion and language, which the Chinese government is trying so hard to destroy, but they have not been successful yet, and I believe that they never will. China is not just going to stop with Tibet. We now know that over 1 million Uyghurs have been forced into what the Chinese government calls re-education camps, but are basically just modern-day concentration camps. Tibet has become the world's largest prison, and if we collectively don't do anything about it, then soon many more countries face the same dark future. I truly believe that if we collectively stand up against China, and with the support and help from the international community, we will see the change that we are so desperately hoping for. We simply cannot let China bully countries just because they can do so. If countries depend on China, a good relationship with China for their economies, China too depends on other countries for the economic growth. Lastly, I would like to conclude by saying that every Tibetan in exile has a huge responsibility to carry. That is the hopes and prayers of our 6 to 7 million Tibetan brothers and sisters who are still left behind in Tibet. May His Holiness live long and healthy and all His wishes come true. And tade manso lana maybe uti kalgren ya no konsa kalgren chumucho ki kuseka khelte mata ani phe mi ma shizeni kan gyogyo nyamzon yo rewa de melam yo shin shwen yi thanks to minda pegalo long live
We'll be introducing the political theater that will be presenting here.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Dechin. I'm a member of Students for Free Tibet Canada. Every March 10th, SFT Canada puts on a political theater focusing on different stories and different situations within Tibet. For example, last year in 2018, our theater was on Geuk Sungyap and political prisoner Tashi Wangchuk, his arrest by the Chinese government for advocating for Tibetan language rights. And similarly, in 2017, our theater was on the crisis in Larungar, as temples were being destroyed and monks and nuns were being evicted. This year, it is 60 years since Tibet was occupied and lost its freedom to China. So for our play, we wanted to focus on stories since 1959 to today. We will be showing stories of every 10 years since 1959, what's happened in Tibet, and then later, as the years progress, what's happening in exile. There will be one saying in the play when the narrator, Jamyangla, when she says 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, if you can say with Jamyangla, too long. So it'll go like this: 10 years too long. Can we all practice it once? 10 years too long. All right, go to 20 years too long. Okay, without further ado, we'll start.
Okay. And let's all take a deep breath together. Imagine there's clear skies. You're surrounded by snow-capped mountains, big snow-capped mountains. Imagine you're standing in the middle of downtown Lhasa. There are kids running around. A man to your right playing damye, entertaining his audience. Imagine Tibet, where there's no sight of Chinese armies. Tibet, a free Tibet. Open your eyes. The date is March 10, 1959.
The Chinese army have taken over eastern regions of Amdo and Kham.
We still have time now. Let's go.
It's too late. They're gonna be here any minute. I'm gonna stay here. I have to fight. It's my duty.
I was only 10 years old when it happened. Even at that age, on that day, March 10, 1959, I knew my life had changed forever. Nothing would ever be the same. Tibet was officially occupied by China, and within days, weeks, months, China would work to slowly wipe Tibet off the map. Year 1969, 10 years too long. I remember the goodbyes, my cousins, my relatives, my friends, one by one leaving our homeland in search for freedom in the land beyond. I didn't know what was out there. Tibet is my home. It's our home, but every day more people left. The goodbyes were endless. There was fear, worry, anxiousness, And then a glimmer of hope that the land beyond is untouched by the Chinese. But I stayed. Tibet is my home. Where else would I go? Year 1979, 20 years. 20 years too long. Then the Cultural Revolution started. We lost everything. I remember being forced to read Chairman Mao's slogans and writings, being forced to spy on my family, being forced to denounce His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The attack on Tibetan religion, culture, identity, and traditional way of life was further intensified. In front of my eyes, China was trying to erase Tibet's past and influence to shape its future. Year 1989, 30 years. 30 years too long. Every day, there are more people taking to streets. Monks, nuns, lay people, calling, demanding for our country back.
Free Tibet! China out! Free Tibet! China out! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! Tibet belongs to Tibetans! Tibet belongs to Tibetans! Tibet belongs to Tibetans! Tibet belongs to Tibetans!
Very foundation for a true, just, and lasting peace. And accordingly, I now call upon Your Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. Will you please enter the podium and receive the Nobel Peace Prize for 1989 with a gold medal and the diploma.
Year 1999, 40 years. 40 years too long. Situation in Tibet is getting worse by the day. There was no hope that China will let go of Tibet very easily. So I looked to navigate through the mountains to what I hoped would be freedom on the other side. A difficult, treacherous journey through knee-deep snow and howling winds. I left behind my home, my parents, and everything I've ever known to go into the unknown. Year 2009, 50 years. 50 years too long. 2008 Olympics came to China, and with that brought in Tibet a wave of protest.
Free Tibet! China out! Free Tibet! China out! China out of Tibet now! 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 Free Tibet! China out! Free Tibet! China out! Somebody! Somebody! Yaman Bene! Yaman Bene! Somebody! Somebody! Yaman Bene! Yaman Bene! Free Tibet! China out! Free Tibet! China out! Free Tibet! China out! Human rights in Tibet! 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 Free Tibet! China out! Free Tibet! China out! Free Tibet! China out! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now!
The date is March 10, 2019. 60 years. 60 years too long.
60 years too long.
since 2008, we have seen an unprecedented wave of over 165 self-immolations. Monks, nuns, fathers, mothers, children as young as 16, all calling for freedom and the return of His Holiness to Tibet.
May His Holiness return to our free Tibet. Tibet will be free again.
Today marks the 60 years since the occupation of Tibet. Tenzin Chodak, Tenzin Dele Rinpoche, Tundu Wangshin, Shokjang, Yugu Ada, Yishi Chudu, Dashi Wangchu. These are the names of our brave men and women that put their lives for Tibet. These are the names that we should not forget. 60 years of struggle, 60 years of resistance, 60 years of resilience, 60 years too long, 60 years hoping that Tibet will be free. But united, Tibet will be free. Pirongden! Pirongden! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Peggy Dokpo! Peggy Dokpo! Release the political prisoners now! Release the political prisoners now! Release the pension lama now! Release the pension lama now! Tibet belongs to! Tibet belongs to! Peggy Dokpo! Stop the genocide! Stop the mining! Stop the torture! Free Tibet! Allow media! Human rights! Cultural rights! Tibet belongs to! Tibet belongs to! China out of Tibet now! 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 Shame on CCP! The world is watching! Shame on CCP! The world is watching! United Nations! Stand up for justice! United Nations! We want justice! China out of Tibet now! 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 Free Tibet! China out! What do we want? We want freedom! What do we want? We want freedom! When do we want it? Now! Now! When do we want it? Now! Now! Tibet belongs to! Tibetans! Tibet belongs to! Tibetans! Peggy genocide! In Tibet! Stop the killing! In Tibet! Stop the mining! In Tibet! China out of Tibet now! 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 Long live! Dalai Lama! Free Tibet! China out!
도전아 드리 숨지 두젠데 민망고 시우치 배샤 남시 장모시 따드니야 대민승접 집중나야래 will be marching towards Chinese consulate 아니 뱀람디 데스 두와치에서 다다바게 기나서 시슈워테 센슈워테 거두데 St. Patrick's Day기 통고디 다다 도시버샤 주도 제가 라스도에리샤 될 때네 다다 고스완이 되게 블루심도 가면 쉬우이 다다 배도 디네수 배래 디네수 배제 저스티스부터 배 저스티스네 마시 폴리스기 네티레 아니 저스티스네 약하도 장라 야배제 블로 스트리트 앞에 블로 스트리트네 차유라 파카도 센 조스 스트리트 앞에리샤 Says George ne kawa pegi me transa same keke bore. So we'll be marching from here the police officers will be leading us, and we'll be going left turn on Church Street and north on Church Street towards up to Bloor Street. And from Bloor we turn left to go towards the west side. Then we'll turn right on St. Joe Street, where we'll be demonstrating a lot in front of Chinese consulate. Tojana.
Lazo number 2 toji chena ta 3 pe ba opesha ta thajing e shubana shi ta thine nima chik le ta ne ngazo ta yana shungzab la chin ne dalen ji pyo yin ada 3 ngazo ani mixe ge ta ta ngazo Toronto na lo le ya ani media thone pe mise ya ko chin yore a thine media la che donga ne gyapyo na nge pemle zola re mixe ge pemle zola to che shwe yin ti song za da toji se mo ne ngazo yana shungzab do Imajik thriller taro na shwe kadi che. Thank you.